The morning sun streamed through the glass doors of Techolite, casting long shadows across the polished floor. Mia Thompson stifled a yawn as she arranged the newest phone displays, making sure each device was perfectly aligned with its price tag. 6 years of working in retail had taught her many things, but most importantly, how to spot a serious buyer from a mile away. Another day, another dollar. She mumbled to herself, glancing at her watch. Only 30 minutes into her shift and she was already counting down to lunch break. The store was relatively quiet for a Tuesday morning. A few business people in sharp suits browsed the laptop section, while an elderly couple squinted at tablet screens near the back wall. Mia had already pegged them all. The suits would likely make a purchase for their company account, and the older couple would probably ask 100 questions before leaving without buying anything. Retail was predictable that way. After enough time, people became walking wallets. You could almost see the dollar signs floating above their heads, telling you exactly how much commission they were worth. The bell above the door chimed softly, announcing a new customer. Mia looked up from her display and immediately made her assessment. A man in his mid-30s shuffled in wearing faded jeans with a small tear at the knee, scuffed work boots, and a plain gray t-shirt that had seen better days. His dark hair was slightly messy, as if he'd run his hands through it multiple times, and he carried a worn backpack slung over one shoulder. Mia's internal calculator immediately registered. Not worth her time. She'd seen his type before, the kind who came in to look at expensive gadgets they couldn't afford, asking detailed questions about products they'd never buy, wasting precious minutes she could spend on actual paying customers. "Hey Mia, could you finish updating the security software on the display models?" Her manager, Hank, called from the register. "I need to step out for a meeting with the district supervisor." "Sure thing," she replied, grateful for the excuse to stay busy rather than deal with the shabby-looking newcomer. From the corner of her eye, she watched as the man wandered through the store. He moved slowly, methodically examining the high-end cameras with particular interest. Then he drifted toward the premium smartphone section, where the most expensive models lived. Of course he did. Mia tapped away at the tablet in her hands, pretending to be deeply focused on her task while keeping tabs on the man. When he lingered a bit too long near an unlocked display model, she shifted her position to keep a better view. Shoplifting was always a concern, especially with the pricier items. Her co-worker, Jin, emerged from the stockroom carrying a stack of promotional flyers. He was newer to the store, only 8 months in, and still had that eager-to-please attitude that Mia had lost somewhere around year 2. "Need any help over there, sir?" Jin called out with genuine enthusiasm. The scruffy man looked up and smiled. "Just looking for now, thanks." His voice was unexpectedly clear and well-spoken, not that it changed anything. Mia had learned long ago that appearances and first impressions were rarely wrong in retail. The expensive watches and smartphones would still be here tomorrow for him to dream about. 20 minutes passed. Most browsers usually left after 15. This guy was really milking his window shopping experience. Mia finished updating the security software and moved on to rearranging the smartwatch display, deliberately positioning herself near where the man was now examining the latest flagship phone. The Techolite X20 Pro, priced at just under $2,000. She caught Jin's eye across the store and gave a subtle eye roll. Jin responded with a small shrug before turning back to the businesswoman he was helping. The scruffy man picked up the X20 Pro, turning it over in his hands with careful precision. Mia noticed his fingers were clean but calloused. Working hands. Not the manicured type that usually purchased their top-tier products. When he finally approached the counter, Mia took a deep breath and plastered on her customer service smile, the one that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Finding everything okay?" she asked, her tone pleasant but lacking the warmth she reserved for promising customers. "Yes, thank you," he replied. "This X20 Pro is impressive. What can you tell me about the camera system?" Here we go, Mia thought. The typical tire kicker routine. Ask detailed questions about the most expensive model, soak up all the information, then leave without buying. "It has a very good camera," she said flatly. "Triple lens setup, night mode, all the standard features you'd expect." She tapped the price tag deliberately. "It's one of our premium models at $199.99. The man nodded, seemingly unfazed by the price. "I understand it has some special features for low-light photography?" Mia sighed internally. She actually knew quite a bit about the phone's camera system. It was a technical marvel with computational photography that rivaled professional cameras, but why waste that knowledge on someone who was clearly just browsing? It takes good pictures in the dark, yes, she simplified. We have some more affordable options over here if you're interested in smartphone photography. She gestured toward the mid-range display. I'd prefer to stick with the flagship model, the man said politely. I do a lot of photography work, so the camera quality is important to me. Photography work, right? With those clothes and that backpack, Mia doubted he was a professional photographer. Maybe he took pictures at his nephew's birthday parties and called it work. The X20 Pro comes with a 12-month warranty and requires our premium protection plan for an additional $299, she added, emphasizing the cost, hoping it might discourage him from continuing this charade. The store door chimed again, and Mia glanced up hopefully, looking for a rescue from this conversation. Instead, she saw a young couple enter, both dressed in workout clothes and sneakers. More browsers, most likely. Tuesday mornings were the worst. The scruffy man didn't seem deterred by her lack of enthusiasm. Does it have the new neural processor I've been reading about? The one that enhances image detail after the photo is taken? Mia raised an eyebrow, slightly surprised by the technical question. Yes, it does have that feature. And how does the battery perform when using the camera heavily? I sometimes need to shoot all day without access to charging. It's good, Mia responded vaguely. Look, this phone is really designed for business professionals and serious users. It's our top-of-the-line model, the man nodded thoughtfully. That's exactly what I need. I've been using the previous model for 2 years now, but the battery is starting to go. And I need the improved low-light performance. Mia barely contained another eye roll. Sure, he had the previous model. That would have cost nearly as much when it was released. Would you like to see our payment plan options? She asked with thinly veiled skepticism. No need. I'll be paying in full today. Mia blinked, caught off guard. This wasn't how these conversations usually went. Still, she'd seen this type before. People who talked big until it came time to actually hand over their credit card. I see, she said, still disbelieving. Will that be credit or debit? Before the man could answer, Hank returned from his meeting, hurrying through the front door with an anxious expression. He scanned the store quickly until his eyes landed on Mia and the scruffy customer. Hank's face transformed instantly, his worried look replaced by a broad smile as he rushed toward them. I'll just be a moment, Mia told the man, relieved to have an excuse to step away. She moved toward Hank, expecting him to need her help with something related to the district supervisor's visit. Instead, Hank brushed past her and extended his hand to the scruffy man. Good morning, sir. I hope you're finding everything to your satisfaction today. Mia frowned in confusion. Hank wasn't usually this enthusiastic with customers, especially ones who looked like they couldn't afford a phone case, let alone the most expensive phone in the store. Yes, your associate has been helping me look at the X20 Pro, the man replied, shaking Hank's hand. Excellent, excellent. Hank beamed, shooting Mia a meaningful look she couldn't quite interpret. Mia is one of our most knowledgeable team members. I'm sure she's been taking good care of you. Mia forced a smile, feeling suddenly uneasy. Something wasn't adding up. Why was Hank acting like this guy was a VIP customer? The man glanced at Mia with an unreadable expression. For the first time, she noticed his eyes, keen and observant, missing nothing. A chill ran down her spine as a terrible thought began to form in her mind. Who exactly was this person? Mia stood frozen behind the counter, watching as Hank chatted animatedly with the scruffy customer. Her manager's behavior made no sense. Hank was usually reserved, professional, and certainly not one to fawn over customers, especially ones who looked like they'd wandered in from the bus station. I hope the visit to our store has been pleasant so far, Hank was saying, his voice pitched higher than normal. If there's anything special you need, anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask. The man nodded politely. Thank you. I was just discussing the X20 Pro with your associate here. Hank turned to Mia with wide eyes that seemed to be sending some urgent message she couldn't decode. Wonderful. Mia knows everything about our flagship products. She's been with us for 6 years now. 6 years. When Hank put it that way, it sounded like both an achievement and a sentence. 6 years of categorizing people by their wallets, of making snap judgments based on appearances, of saving her best customer service for those who looked the part. She was just explaining some of the camera features, the man said, his expression neutral. Though I think she was about to show me the more affordable options instead. Heat rushed to Mia's cheeks. I was just making sure you were aware of all our offering, she said quickly, trying to recover. The X20 Pro is definitely our most advanced model. Hank laughed a bit too loudly. Mia's always thorough. Now would you like to see the phone in action? We have a dedicated demonstration area where you can test the camera capabilities yourself. The man glanced at his watch. A simple timepiece with a worn leather band. Nothing fancy. I have about 15 minutes before my next appointment. That would be helpful, thank you. Excellent. Hank clapped his hands together. Mia, why don't you show our guest to the photography station? Make sure to highlight the neural processing features he was asking about. With a tight smile, Mia led the way to the back of the store where they had set up a small studio space with various lighting conditions and subjects to photograph. This area was normally reserved for serious buyers or professional reviews, not for people who wandered in wearing clothes that looked like they'd been purchased during the previous decade. Here we are, she said, gesturing to the setup. You can test the phone's capabilities in different lighting scenarios. The man took the display model she handed him with practiced ease. His fingers navigated the interface with surprising familiarity, quickly finding the camera app and adjusting settings that most customers didn't even know existed. The manual mode is quite extensive, he commented, tweaking the ISO and shutter speed settings. Better than most dedicated cameras I've used. Despite herself, Mia felt a flicker of genuine interest. You seem to know your way around the system already. I've done my research, he replied simply, focusing the camera on a still life arrangement designed to test color accuracy and detail. He snapped several photos, then examined them with a critical eye. The detail retention in the shadows is impressive, he murmured, zooming in on dark areas of the image that still showed clear texture, much better than the previous generation. Mia found herself moving closer to look at the screen. If you tap here, she said, pointing to an icon in the corner, it will enhance the dynamic range even further. The man did as suggested, and the image adjusted subtly, bringing out even more detail while maintaining a natural look. That's remarkable, he said, genuinely impressed. Is this using the neural processor you mentioned? Mia nodded, her professional knowledge overriding her initial dismissiveness. Yes, it's analyzing the image pixel by pixel and enhancing details based on what it recognizes. It can tell the difference between texture that should be preserved and noise that should be removed. And it does this without making the photo look artificial? That's the biggest improvement over the last model, Mia explained, warming to the subject. The previous generation sometimes made things look too processed, especially skin tones. This one keeps everything natural while still enhancing what needs enhancement. For a moment, she forgot that this was supposedly just another browser who couldn't afford the phone. In that brief window of time, she was simply a knowledgeable sales associate, sharing information with an interested customer. The man switched to the low-light mode and pointed the camera toward the dimmer corner of the store. How does it handle moving subjects in poor lighting? Without thinking, Mia stepped into the frame and waved her hand slowly. Try it now. The shutter speed should be fast enough to freeze motion even in this light. He took the photo, then showed her the result. Her hand was perfectly sharp with no motion blur, and the image was bright enough to see clearly despite the poor lighting conditions. That's impressive, he said, zooming in to examine the details. No noise reduction artifacts either. The processor uses multiple frames captured in milliseconds, Mia explained, her voice taking on the enthusiasm she usually reserved for customers in business attire. It aligns them perfectly and merges the data to create one clean image. Jin appeared beside them, carrying a stack of protective cases. Sorry to interrupt, he said with an apologetic smile. Hank asked me to bring these over. He thought you might want to see our premium case options for the X20 Pro. The man glanced at the cases. Genuine leather and aerospace-grade materials, each priced above $100. Thank you, he said simply. Jin lingered for a moment. Would you like me to take over the demonstration? I don't mind. Mia recognized the offer for what it was, Jin trying to score a potentially big sale. Normally, she would have happily handed off a browser to her colleague, but something had shifted. She was actually enjoying explaining the phone's features to someone who seemed to understand them. I've got it covered, thanks, she said, surprising both Jin and herself. As Jin walked away, looking slightly disappointed, the man turned to Mia with a curious expression. "You seem to know a lot about photographic technology." Mia shrugged. "I've picked things up over the years. The camera systems are usually what sells these high-end phones. And you use this knowledge selectively?" The question caught her off guard. "What do you mean?" "I mean," he said carefully, "that you seem to have extensive knowledge that you didn't initially share when I first approached you." Mia felt her face grow warm again. "I try to match the information to the customer's need," she said, the practiced response sounding hollow even to her own ears. "I see." His expression remained neutral, but something in his tone made Mia deeply uncomfortable. "And you determined my needs based on—" The question hung in the air between them. Mia knew exactly what he was asking, and worse, she knew exactly what the honest answer was. She had judged him entirely on his appearance and decided he wasn't worth her full attention or knowledge. Before she could formulate a response, Hank reappeared, looking slightly flustered. "How's everything going?" "Finding all the features you need?" "Yes, very informative," the man replied. Mia was just explaining the neural processing technology. She's quite knowledgeable when she chooses to share that knowledge. Hank's smile faltered slightly. "Yes, Mia is one of our best." He checked his watch nervously. "I hate to interrupt, but I've just received word that Mr. Chen might be visiting today and I need to prepare the team." The man raised an eyebrow. "Mr. Chen?" "David Chen," Hank explained, "the new CEO of Techolite Corporation. He's been making unannounced visits to retail locations. Between us, we're all a bit on edge about it." Mia's stomach tightened. David Chen was famous in the industry for his undercover boss approach to management. After taking over as CEO 6 months ago, he had made it his mission to experience the company from the ground up, often visiting stores incognito to see how customers were treated. There were rumors of instant promotions for exceptional employees, and equally swift consequences for those who failed to meet his standards. "I see," the man said, handing the phone back to Mia. "Well, I wouldn't worry too much. I'm sure your team provides excellent service to all customers regardless of how they're dressed or what they look like." Something in his tone made Mia's blood run cold. She looked at him more carefully now. The casual clothes, the unassuming manner, the technical knowledge, the way Hank was acting. "I'd like to purchase the X20 Pro," he said, turning back to Mia. "The 512GB model in graphite, please. And I won't be needing a payment plan." Mia nodded, trying to keep her hands steady as she led him back to the register. Her mind was racing, connecting dots she should have seen earlier. The technical questions, the familiarity with the previous model, Hank's unusual behavior. "Will you be using the phone with your current carrier?" she asked, her voice betraying a slight tremor. "No, I'll need a new account," he replied, under the name Chen. David Chen. The room seemed to tilt slightly beneath Mia's feet. She gripped the edge of the counter for support as she looked up and met his gaze directly for the first time. "You're—" she began, but couldn't finish the sentence. He nodded once, his expression unreadable. "I think we should continue this conversation in private, don't you? Is there somewhere we can talk?" From across the store, Hank was watching them with growing confusion and concern. Mia caught his eye and gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. "The office," she managed to say. "This way, Mr. Chen." As she led him toward the back of the store, Mia felt as though she were walking to her own execution. 6 years of experience, countless customers served. And today she had made the worst possible mistake, judging the one person who held her entire career in his hands. The back office of Techolite was small and utilitarian. Just a desk, 3 chairs, a filing cabinet, and a bulletin board covered with sales targets and employee schedules. Mia closed the door behind them, her heart hammering so loudly she was certain Mr. Chen could hear it. David Chen took a seat without being asked, placing his worn backpack on the floor beside him. Up close, in the harsh fluorescent lighting of the office, Mia could see details she had missed on the sales floor. His jeans, while faded, were a designer brand. The gray t-shirt was made of high-quality cotton, and his scuffed work boots were actually handcrafted Italian leather, just well worn. The signs had been there all along. She had simply chosen not to see them. "Please sit down," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him as if this were his office, not her workplace. Mia lowered herself into the chair, her legs feeling unsteady. "Mr. Chen, I want to apologize." He held up a hand, stopping her mid-sentence. Before you continue, I'd like to ask you something. His voice was calm, measured, the voice of someone used to being in control. Why did your attitude toward me change just now? Mia blinked, caught off guard by the question. Because I realized who you are, and who am I? You're David Chen, the CEO of Techolite Corporation. He nodded slowly. And that matters because... Mia swallowed hard. Any answer she gave would reveal something unflattering about herself. Because you're important, she said finally, opting for honesty. More important than the elderly couple looking at tablets? More important than the college student who came in yesterday trying to get his laptop fixed for his classes? Each question felt like a dart hitting its target. Mia had no defense. I shouldn't have judged you by your appearance, she said quietly. No, you shouldn't have, he agreed. But that's not what bothers me most. What concerns me is that you judged someone at all, and then provided different levels of service based on that judgment. He leaned forward slightly. Tell me, Mia, if I had been just a regular person, not the CEO, not wealthy, just someone who saved up for months to buy a premium phone, would that person deserve less knowledge, less enthusiasm, less respect than anyone else? The question hung in the air between them. Mia felt a heaviness in her chest as the full weight of her behavior settled on her. 6 years of treating customers differently based on how much she thought they could spend. 6 years of withholding her best self from people who didn't match her idea of a serious buyer. No, she admitted. Everyone deserves the same level of service. Chen nodded, his expression softening slightly. That's the foundation of good customer service. It's also the foundation of basic human decency. A knock at the door interrupted them. Hank poked his head in, his face a mask of anxiety. Everything okay in here? Chen turned to him with a pleasant smile. Just having a chat with Mia. Could you give us a few more minutes? Of course, Hank said quickly, shooting Mia a concerned look before closing the door again. When they were alone, Chen turned back to Mia. Your manager doesn't know who I am yet. I was planning to reveal myself at the end of my visit. Are you going to fire me? Mia asked, the question that had been pounding in her mind finally escaping her lips. Chen considered her for a moment. Do you think I should? The question was unexpected. Mia had been prepared for a simple yes or no, not to be asked for her own opinion on whether she deserved to keep her job. I made a mistake, she said carefully. A big one, but I don't think one mistake defines a person or their entire career. Interesting perspective, Chen replied. But was it really just one mistake? Or was it a pattern of behavior that happened to catch up with you today? The truth of his words stung. It hadn't been a single slip-up. It was how she had operated for years, categorizing people the moment they walked through the door, deciding who was worth her time and who wasn't. It was a pattern, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. One I didn't even realize I had fallen into until today. Chen nodded, seemingly appreciating her honesty. Patterns can be broken, Mia, but first they have to be recognized. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a small notebook, flipping it open to reveal pages of handwritten notes. I've been visiting Techolite stores across the country for the past month. Do you know what I've found? Mia shook her head. I've found that our customer satisfaction scores don't match our sales numbers. We're selling plenty of devices, but our customers don't feel good about the experience. He turned the notebook so she could see a graph he had drawn. And that gap is widening. I didn't know, Mia said, genuinely surprised. From her perspective, the store had been doing well, meeting targets, moving inventory. Most employees don't. They focus on the sale, not the person making the purchase. He closed the notebook. That's why I started these visits. I needed to experience our stores the way our customers do. He leaned back in his chair, studying her. Your colleague, Jin, was it? He approached me immediately when I entered the store. He was helpful, respectful. You, on the other hand, avoided me until I approached you directly. Mia couldn't deny it. Yes. And yet, Chen continued, when you finally started talking about the phone's features, you knew more than he did. Your technical knowledge is impressive. You explained complex technology in a way that was easy to understand. You have valuable skills, Mia. The compliment was unexpected, causing a flicker of pride that was quickly extinguished by the memory of how poorly she had behaved. Skills mean nothing if they're only shared selectively, she said, echoing his earlier point. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Precisely. Another knock at the door, more insistent this time. Hank entered without waiting for a response. His face flushed with nervous energy. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have several customers waiting for assistance, and Jin can't handle them all." Chen stood up. "No problem. We were just finishing up." He turned to Mia. "I think it's time we return to the sales floor." Mia rose unsteadily, still uncertain of her fate. As they walked toward the door, Chen placed a hand on her shoulder, stopping her. "For what it's worth," he said quietly, "I don't believe in firing people who have the capacity to learn and grow. I believe in second chances when they're earned." Relief washed over her, quickly followed by determination. If she was being given another chance, she wouldn't waste it. They followed Hank back to the main floor where several customers were indeed waiting. The elderly couple Mia had noticed earlier was still there, now looking confused as they tried to understand the different tablet options. A young man in paint-splattered clothes was examining the laptops. A woman in scrubs was waiting by the phone accessories. Chen turned to Mia. "I think your colleagues could use some help." Before she could respond, the front door opened and a sharp-dressed man in an expensive suit strode in, radiating importance and wealth. He headed straight for the premium phone display where Mia usually stationed herself. It was exactly the type of customer she would have rushed to help before today. Someone who looked like a guaranteed commission. Chen watched her, his expression neutral but his eyes keen. It was a test, Mia realized. He wanted to see what she would do now. Without hesitation, she walked toward the elderly couple. "Excuse me," she said with a genuine smile. "I noticed you've been looking at the tablets. Would you like me to explain the different options?" The relief on their faces was immediate and rewarding. "Oh, would you?" the woman asked. "We're trying to find something simple to video call our grandchildren, but there are so many choices." "I'd be happy to help you find exactly what you need," Mia said, and she meant it. For the first time in longer than she could remember, she wasn't thinking about the size of the sale or her commission. She was thinking about the people in front of her and how she could make their lives better. From across the store, she caught Chen watching her. He gave her a small nod of approval before turning to Jin, who was now assisting the well-dressed customer with the phones. Mia spent the next 20 minutes with the elderly couple, patiently explaining features, demonstrating video calling, and helping them find a tablet that fit both their needs and their budget. When they finally made their choice, a mid-range model that was on sale, their gratitude was palpable. "You've been so kind," the woman said, squeezing Mia's hand. "Most young people don't have the patience for old folks like us." "It was my pleasure," Mia replied, and to her surprise, she meant it. The genuine connection felt more satisfying than any high-commission sale she had made in recent memory. As she finished processing their purchase, she glanced around for Chen, but he was nowhere to be seen. Jin was still with the suited customer, and Hank was helping the man in paint-splattered clothes. Had Chen left? Had he seen enough to make his final decision about her? The uncertainty made her stomach knot with anxiety. Just as she handed the elderly couple their new tablet, Hank approached her, his expression unreadable. "Mia," he said quietly, "Mr. Chen would like to see you in the office again, immediately." The walk back to the office felt like the longest journey of Mia's life. Each step was weighted with uncertainty. Had helping the elderly couple been enough, or had Chen already made up his mind about her? Hank walked beside her, unusually quiet. "He didn't tell me what this is about," he said finally, his voice low. "But I should tell you," he revealed who he is. "Everyone knows now." Mia nodded, her throat too tight to speak. Of course Chen had revealed himself. His undercover work was done. He had seen everything he needed to see. When they reached the office door, Hank gave her shoulder an awkward pat. "Good luck," he whispered before walking away, leaving her alone. Mia took a deep breath and knocked. "Come in," Chen called from inside. She pushed the door open to find him seated at the desk, his worn backpack now replaced with a sleek leather briefcase. He had removed his faded gray t-shirt to reveal a crisp button-down underneath. With his hair neatly combed back, he looked every bit the powerful CEO he was. The transformation was startling, as if he had stepped out of one role and into another, shedding his disguise like a second skin. "Close the door, please," he said, his tone professional but not unkind. Mia did as she was told, then stood awkwardly. unsure whether to sit without being invited. "I saw what you did out there," Chen said, gesturing to the chair across from him. "Please sit." She sank into the chair, her hands folded tightly in her lap to keep them from trembling. "You chose to help the elderly couple instead of the man in the suit," Chen continued. "Why?" Mia considered her answer carefully. She could say what she thought he wanted to hear, that she was trying to prove herself, that she had learned her lesson. But something told her that Chen would see through any attempt at telling him what she thought he wanted to hear. They needed help more. She said simply, "And I wanted to help them." Chen studied her face, searching for any sign of insincerity. "Not because you thought it would impress me?" "That was part of it," Mia admitted. "Honesty seemed the only possible path forward. I knew you were watching. But once I started helping them, something changed. They were so grateful for the attention, for someone taking time to explain things properly. It felt right," Chen nodded slowly. "That feeling, that's what we've been missing in our stores. That genuine connection with customers regardless of how much they're spending." He opened a folder on the desk, one Mia hadn't noticed before, and pulled out a sheet of paper. "Do you know what this is?" he asked, sliding it across the desk toward her. Mia glanced down at the document. It was a performance review form. Her performance review form with her name at the top. "Your annual review is scheduled for next week," Chen said. "Hank has already filled out his portion." Mia's eyes scanned the page, landing on the overall rating. "Exceeds expectations." Confusion washed over her. "But I don't understand." "Hank thinks very highly of you," Chen explained. "According to him, you're one of the top salespeople in the store. Your product knowledge is exceptional. Your sales numbers are consistently among the highest in the region." He took the paper back, studying it. "By all traditional metrics, you're an outstanding employee." "But those metrics don't tell the whole story," Mia said quietly. Chen looked up, something like approval flickering in his eyes. "No, they don't. They don't measure how you make customers feel. They don't capture whether people leave our stores feeling valued or dismissed." He set the review aside and leaned forward, his expression serious. "I'm implementing new metrics across all Techolite stores. Customer satisfaction surveys, mystery shoppers, follow-up calls after purchases. We're going to start measuring the quality of the experience, not just the quantity of sales." Mia nodded, understanding dawning. "And employees will be evaluated on those metrics too." "Exactly." Chen sat back in his chair. "Which brings me to why I called you in here. I have a decision to make about your future with the company." Here it was, the moment of truth. Mia braced herself. "I see two options," Chen continued. "The first is to let today serve as a warning. You keep your position, but with the understanding that your approach to customer service needs to change dramatically." He paused, watching her reaction. "The second option is more unconventional." "What is it?" Mia asked, her curiosity overcoming her anxiety. "I'm creating a new training program for all Techolite retail employees. It's focused entirely on customer experience. How to connect with people, how to make them feel valued regardless of what they're buying or how they look." Chen leaned forward again. "The program needs someone who understands both sides of the equation, someone who knows how to sell, but who also recognizes the pitfalls of judging customers based on appearances." Mia's eyes widened as she realized what he was suggesting. "You want me to be involved in the training program?" "I want you to lead it," Chen corrected. "Not immediately, of course. You would start as a trainee yourself, learning the new approach. But eventually, I believe you could be very effective at teaching others how to avoid the very mistakes you've made." The offer was so unexpected that Mia found herself momentarily speechless. It wasn't just a second chance, it was an opportunity for growth, for advancement, for transformation. "Why me?" she finally managed to ask. "After what happened today, why would you trust me with something so important?" Chen's expression softened slightly. "Because you recognized your mistake without making excuses. Because when given the chance to demonstrate change, you took it. And because sometimes the people who have made the mistakes are the best ones to help others avoid them." He stood up and walked to the window overlooking the sales floor. "Also, I've been doing this long enough to recognize when someone has potential that isn't being fully utilized. Your technical knowledge is wasted on simply making sales. You could be developing our training materials, shaping how we interact with customers across the entire company." Mia joined him at the window, Below, she could see Jin helping a teenager pick out headphones, while Hank was on the phone, probably talking to the district manager about Chen's visit. "What would happen to my position here?" she asked. "You'd transition out gradually, split your time between sales and training for the first few months. Eventually, you'd move to our corporate office to work with the customer experience team full-time." It was more than Mia had ever imagined for herself. After 6 years of seeing her job as nothing more than a way to pay the bills, the idea of a career path, one that could make a real difference, was almost overwhelming. "I don't know what to say," she admitted. Chen turned to face her. "You don't have to decide right now. Take a few days to think about it." He extended his hand. "Whatever you choose, I expect to see a change in how you treat every customer who walks through that door." "Is that understood?" Mia took his hand, her grip firm and confident for the first time since discovering his identity. "Completely understood." "Good." Chen smiled, a genuine smile that transformed his serious expression. "Now I think it's time we went back out there. I still need to purchase that phone, and I'd like you to complete the sale." As they walked back onto the sales floor together, Mia noticed how differently everyone was behaving now. Jin stood straighter, his usual friendly demeanor tinged with nervousness. Hank hovered nearby, trying to look busy while obviously keeping an eye on the CEO's movements. Even the customers seemed to sense something important was happening, their curious glances following Chen as he moved through the store. The man who had entered in the expensive suit was still there, now impatiently checking his watch as Jin processed his purchase. When he spotted Chen, recognition flashed across his face. "David Chen?" he called out, abandoning his transaction mid-signature. "Thomas Wilson, Apex Investments. I've been trying to get a meeting with you for months." Chen gave the man a polite nod but didn't break his stride as he headed toward the register where Mia was waiting. "Please contact my office to schedule something," he said, his tone cordial but dismissive. The investment banker looked stunned at being brushed off so casually. His gaze shifted from Chen to Mia, confusion evident as he tried to understand why the CEO of Techolite would choose to work with her instead of attending to someone of his stature. The irony wasn't lost on Mia. Just hours ago, she would have abandoned any customer to assist someone like Thomas Wilson. Now she was the one being chosen over him. "Ready to complete that purchase, Mr. Chen?" she asked as he approached the counter. "Absolutely," he replied, a knowing look passing between them. "And please call me David." As Mia processed the sale, she was aware of every eye in the store on them. The weight of the morning's events, the humiliation, the realization, the unexpected opportunity, all settled into something that felt strangely like gratitude. She had been given a rare gift today, the chance to see herself clearly, to recognize a pattern that had been holding her back, and to begin the process of changing it. When the transaction was complete, David took his new phone and shook her hand once more. "I'll be in touch about the training program," he said, loud enough for others to hear. "I think you have a lot to offer Techolite's future." With that, he nodded to Hank, waved to the rest of the staff, and walked out of the store, leaving behind a wake of whispers and wide-eyed stares. As the door closed behind him, Hank rushed over to Mia. "What was that about a training program?" he asked, his voice a mixture of curiosity and concern. Mia looked around the store, at the products she knew so well, at her colleagues watching expectantly, at the customers still waiting for assistance. For the first time in years, she saw it all with new eyes. "It's about seeing people," she said simply. "Really seeing them." Hank looked confused, but before he could ask more questions, Mia spotted a young woman in worn clothes entering the store, looking overwhelmed by the array of devices. "Excuse me," Mia said to Hank. "There's someone who needs help." As she walked toward the new customer with a genuine smile, Mia felt something shift inside her, the first step on a new path, one that had opened up because she had failed in exactly the right way, at exactly the right time. 6 months later, Mia stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Techolite corporate office, watching the city bustling 20 floors below. The view still took her breath away, even after 3 months of working here. Sometimes she would arrive early just to enjoy these quiet moments, marveling at how much her life had changed in half a year. "There you are," a voice called from behind her. "The team's gathering in conference room B. We start in 10 minutes." Mia turned to see Liz, her supervisor on the customer experience team, holding 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Mia with a smile. "Nervous?" Liz asked. "A little," Mia admitted, accepting the coffee gratefully. "It's my first time presenting the training program on my own." "You'll be great," Liz assured her. "Nobody knows this material better than you do. After all, you helped create it." Mia nodded, taking a sip of her coffee. The past 6 months had been a whirlwind of change. After David Chen's visit to the store, she had accepted his offer to join the training program. The first 2 months were split between her regular sales duties and learning the new customer experience approach Chen was implementing company-wide. By the 3rd month, she was spending 3 days a week at corporate headquarters, helping to develop training materials based on her own experiences and the data Chen had gathered from his undercover visits. Now she worked full-time on the customer experience team, traveling to different Techolite locations to train staff on the new approach. Today was different, though. Today she would be presenting to a room full of regional managers, people who oversaw dozens of stores each. The stakes were higher than ever. "Did you hear David might stop by?" Liz asked as they walked toward the conference room. Mia nearly spilled her coffee. "What, today?" "That's the rumor. Apparently he wants to see how the program is being received by upper management." Great, Mia thought. No pressure at all. She hadn't seen Chen since that day at the store, though they had exchanged a few emails about the training program. He had been traveling internationally, expanding Techolite's presence in Europe and Asia, while she had been working her way up from trainee to trainer. As they approached Conference Room B, Mia could see the regional managers already filing in, men and women in crisp business attire, carrying tablets and notepads, their faces a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Many of them had been with the company for decades, rising through the ranks when sales numbers were the only metric that mattered. They wouldn't be easy to convince. "Ready?" Liz asked, pausing at the door. Mia took a deep breath. "Ready." The next hour flew by as Mia presented the new training program. She explained the philosophy behind it, that customer experience was just as important as sales figures, that making people feel valued would lead to long-term loyalty, that judging customers based on appearances was not only wrong but bad for business. "Let me share a story," she said, reaching the most personal part of her presentation. 6 months ago, I was working as a sales associate at store number 237. I had been with the company for 6 years, and I thought I knew everything about selling our products. She paused, making eye contact with several managers around the room. I was wrong. I knew about the products, but I didn't understand the people buying them. I had fallen into a habit of judging customers the moment they walked through the door, deciding who was worth my time based on how they dressed, what they carried, how they spoke. The room was silent, all eyes fixed on her. Then one day a man in worn jeans and a faded t-shirt came into the store. I immediately decided he couldn't afford our premium products, so I gave him the bare minimum of my attention and knowledge. I steered him toward cheaper options. I made assumptions about his life, his budget, his needs, all based on nothing but his appearance. She clicked to the next slide, which showed a photo of David Chen in a business suit, looking every bit the powerful CEO. That man was David Chen, and he was there to see exactly how customers were being treated when we thought no one was watching. A murmur went through the room. Some of the managers shifted uncomfortably in their seats. I could have been fired that day, Mia continued. Instead, Mr. Chen gave me an opportunity to learn from my mistake and help others avoid making the same one. That's what this training program is about, recognizing and changing patterns that hurt both our customers and our business. She clicked through slides showing customer satisfaction data, return rates, and lifetime value statistics. The numbers don't lie. When customers feel respected and valued, regardless of what they purchase or how they look, they come back. They tell their friends. They become advocates for our brand. And yes, they spend more money over time. As she wrapped up her presentation, Mia noticed a figure standing at the back of the room. David Chen had slipped in quietly during her story. Their eyes met briefly, and he gave her a small nod of encouragement. "Any questions?" she asked, turning back to the regional managers. Hands shot up around the room. For the next 30 minutes, Mia fielded questions, some supportive, others challenging. She answered each one with confidence, backing up her points with data and examples from stores that had already implemented the new approach. When the session finally ended, the managers filed out, many stopping to thank her or ask follow-up questions. Chen remained at the back of the room waiting until everyone else had left before approaching. "Impressive presentation," he said, extending his hand. "You've come a long way in 6 months." Mia shook his hand, feeling a flash of déjà vu to their handshake in the store. "Thank you for giving me the chance." "You earned it," Chen replied. "And from what I've seen today, you continue to earn it." The managers were skeptical coming in. I could see it on their faces. "But you won many of them over." Liz appeared at the door. "Sorry to interrupt, but we need to clear the room for the next meeting." "Of course," Chen said. "Mia, walk with me. I'd like to hear more about how the training has been received at the store level." As they strolled through the hallways of corporate headquarters, Mia filled Chen in on the successes and challenges of implementing the new approach. Some employees embraced it immediately, while others resisted changing habits they'd developed over years. "It reminds me of myself," she admitted. "Sometimes we don't even realize we're making judgments until someone points it out." Chen nodded thoughtfully. "That's why your perspective is so valuable. You've been on both sides now." They paused by the windows, looking out at the same view Mia had been admiring earlier. "I have another proposition for you," Chen said. "We're launching a major marketing campaign next quarter focused on our commitment to customer experience. I want you to be the face of it." Mia's eyes widened. "Me? But you're just the perfect example of what we're trying to accomplish," Chen interrupted. "Your story resonates because it's real. It shows that change is possible, not just for individuals, but for the entire company." Before Mia could respond, Chen's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and frowned slightly. "I need to take this. Think about the offer. We'll talk more next week." As he walked away, Mia turned back to the window, processing everything that had just happened. From sales associate to corporate trainer to the potential face of a national campaign, all because she had made a mistake and been given the chance to learn from it. Her phone chimed with a text message notification. It was from Hank, her former manager. "Guess who just walked into the store?" Attached was a photo of Jin standing next to a familiar figure, the elderly woman who had bought the tablet 6 months ago, now returning with her husband to upgrade to the latest model. "Jin says they asked for you," Hank's message continued. "They wanted to thank you for how helpful you were last time. Said they've been telling all their friends to come to our store because we treat people like people, not just customers." Mia smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. That one interaction, the first time she had truly focused on helping someone rather than judging their potential value, had created a ripple effect she could never have anticipated. She typed back a quick reply. "Tell them I said hello, and that Jin will take great care of them. He always does." As she slipped her phone back into her pocket, Mia spotted her reflection in the window glass. She looked different now, more confident, more at peace with herself. The woman who had once sized up customers based on their clothes and accessories was gone, replaced by someone who understood the true value of seeing people for who they were, not what they appeared to be. A group of employees walked by and one called out to her. "Great job today, Mia. My team is actually excited about implementing the new training." Mia thanked them with a genuine smile. She thought about all the customers who would walk into Techolite stores in the coming months, people of all backgrounds, appearances, and budgets. Thanks to the program she had helped create, more of them would leave feeling valued and respected, regardless of how much they spent. And somewhere out there, other Mias were working in other stores making the same mistakes she had made. Perhaps some of them would go through their entire CA.